Yo, what's up? Thanks for checking out the Paycheck to Profit podcast. I'm your host, Robert Johnson. Today we're going to be talking with Bobby Souza, and we're going to go over all things STR or short-term rentals and real estate and get into just the balancing act of everything in life. And, really looking forward to it. This is actually my first time talking to Bobby, so this will be a great conversation, just getting to know each other and learning a lot. Bobby, welcome to the show, man.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking all things, short-term rentals, but really real estate in general, um, and just about, how does that intersect with the day-to-day world, having a family and having a daytime, W-2 job too, as well, that I'm currently in. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, why don't we start there? Like, what is your W-2 that you're in right now, and how long have you been there? What's your kind of your role there?
So I work for a SaaS company, and so I'm in the tech space. I have been in data and analytics for 10 years now in that for that company, actually, coming out of college. So I got a degree in actuarial science, right? So, pretty good at math, but I actually minored in statistics. And so I really
Oh, wow.
kind of got I fell in love with like numbers, statistics, and actually I'm a big sports person too. So I love I learned about sabermetrics and how do you applying statistics to sports and I was huge into that. And I used that degree. I didn't want to go the actuarial route. And it was just boring to me, but I think it was unique on the resume. So I ended up landing at a company and as a data analyst. And, that role has become more and more popular over the years. And so been a data analyst. Now I lead a team of data analysts, and
Nice.
I've been at that company. And they basically, software as a service. That's what SaaS is, right? So
Okay.
they provide a software to businesses. It's a business B2B, and pretty large now. But I've been there 10 years, so I know the ins and outs of that industry, but I've used a lot of the analytics skills and then the leadership skills and the relationship building because I worked on the relationship management side, so I learned a lot about building relationships with executive presence, really building a team, and then also sales was a component of that too. So all of that has actually really helped me where I'm at today in translating, a lot of things that you have in your W-2 you can use if you have the right mindset about it. You can use and translate that into the things that you want to do, which in this case for me is like real estate and hospitality. And so that's kind of where I started and where I actually still am today in the W-2.
Nice, dude. Yeah. So SaaS, you said it's software as a service, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's
Yep.
the company you're working for right now?
It's UKG. It's
Okay.
so they're on the Miami Heat jerseys. They're HR and payroll software company.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
So, um, there's a lot of those companies out right now, right? Like, ton. How long is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 I mean, they're
Yeah.
big.
Like, yeah.
It's too like huge company. They merged is Ultimate Software, which is where I started working. They're on the Miami Heat jerseys,
Okay.
and then they merged with Kronos, which is another big player.
Oh, yeah.
And now that's UKG, so they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, HR payroll software company, or I guess HCM, Human Capital Management,
Okay.
in the country.
Wow.
But yeah, it's good. I
Well,
mean, it's a lot of dynamics when companies merge together and when you bring businesses together that have very different styles and different processes. And it really, you have to keep an open mind. And I would say it strengthened my, the ability to keep an open mind and really understand where people are coming from, processes, how do you ensure processes align, how do you make such a big company run, right? And a lot of that stuff I'm using today at a smaller scale on the real estate side, funny enough, and kind of building out our business, although it's more of a startup style, right? Like you have much less um, resources, but it's
Yeah.
still the same principles, same concepts.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so when you were talking, I was a couple things before we move on. So before the recording started, you were talking about your own podcast that you did in the past about fantasy football, and
Mm-hmm.
when you started talking about your statistics degree, and I was just like putting it together. I'm like, oh yeah, it's huge, and like obviously into
Yeah.
fantasy football, but you probably took it to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a lot of leagues. And I mean, I love it though. It's that to me is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like I like building, uh, a team of players and using data and trends
Yeah.
and really using analytics to drive those decisions. And it's kind of like having a portfolio in stocks in a
Yeah.
way. Like if you
Yeah.
have a bunch of teams, you're diversifying, you're finding a way to strengthen like your positions in different, because each of those leagues, right, a winner takes money, so
Right.
it's still like there's a component of that too, and it's just fun. I have a blast doing it.
That's
I've been
awesome.
doing it for years now as well. But yeah, I have a lot of the experience with like the fantasy or the podcast stuff, setting
Yeah.
up all the equipment, and um yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I bet you have some crazy spreadsheets, huh? For
Yeah, I do. It's funny is like in the analytics space, like as soon as like you start to move away from spreadsheets. So like I use them now for our business because it makes sense to do so. But ultimately, like in my day to day, I'm working in a data warehouse. We're querying
Oh, sure.
like
Yeah.
data. We're running millions and millions of row of data records, and we're doing so anything but a spreadsheet. So it's funny, like in the
Right.
analytics
Yeah.
field, people will like please no spreadsheets, right? Like most accounting and finance departments in these big companies, they all use spreadsheets. And
Yeah.
it's like, so it's just funny that you say that. But yes, I did have spreadsheets. And then I ended up actually funny, like on my laptop, I built out a data warehouse within my own that I could actually store data inside of it.
Oh,
So
wow.
being really
Nice.
nerdy, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's it's fun. It's good
That's
stuff.
awesome.
I'm kind of applying that now to in the real estate side, and like really, focusing on uh, pulling lists of properties for like someone that I'm partnered with to make calls all day.
Sure.
They,
Yeah. Yeah.
pulling that data and being able to store it and put it in a place where we can keep it organized, and kind of like that integrator role.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been able to apply a lot of the stuff I've learned to that, which has been nice. It's funny to see it come full circle like
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Let's jump into the real estate stuff. So you, you're doing STRs. Are you, from what I could tell, you have some that you own, but then you also own a property management company that does like handles STRs specifically. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So we have so we started a co-hosting company, right? So basically, we assist homeowners, investors in running their short-term rentals, and it just like you would think of like a long-term rental, and you need a property management company.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a we manage everything, but we basically will for full service, right? We provide everything, and the investor or the property owner or the vacation rental owner uh, sits back, and they collect a percentage every single month, and we just run everything for them. And we really
Sure.
got into that space because ultimately, like the short term rental space grew and grew exponentially and went crazy in during the pandemic, right? Like astronomical. Like it's
Yeah.
so funny when I'm underwriting deals, because I do a lot of underwriting. The norm then was like, if you don't have 20% cash on cash return, like don't even touch it.
Yeah.
And now it's like what I would, I mean, now it's like 15. Could 15 work? Is like 10, like
Yeah.
just because especially here in Florida, right? So I live in Florida, and I live in South Florida in Boca Raton, but we manage properties throughout Florida. We can manage anywhere, and we've shown that, like we do anywhere within Florida, but we also can manage anywhere outside. However, we stuck with Florida to begin with, and we have 4 properties now in Kissimmee, like in the Disney market.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then we have 3 down here in South Florida, like Fort Lauderdale, Lauderdale by the Sea, and then we have 2 up in St. Petersburg, in the West Coast. And so we're continuing to
Nice.
grow. We're like more of a boutique company. We want to focus on luxury, but we provided
Okay.
that service. Like
Are those
we've been
all
growing that.
co-hosting?
That's all co-hosting. Yeah. Now
Okay.
one is owned by me, my wife Kristen, and my business partners Philip and Jen. That we all came together and started this company. Now they own one in Disney as well that we manage. So
Okay.
the whole goal was, well, one of 2 things: really iron out our processes and build out our automations, build up this company, and get it to a place where we can then invest and buy short term. Now we have cash flow coming in from these properties that we're managing, co-hosting, then buy our own and run it through our machine that
Right.
we've just built.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the goal now, and that's how I got into creative financing, was through, because and from an acquisition standpoint, just the numbers weren't making sense
Sure.
doing conventional,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So how active are you guys? Like, I know you said you have the data warehouse, you have all your leads going in. Sounds like your teammate's the one doing the calls for finding the
Yeah.
deals. I'm just curious, like how many properties are you looking to acquire? How many, like, what's your strategy for your leads too? Like, where are you finding your leads?
Yeah. So from a short-term from a co-hosting standpoint, it so I'll show both, I guess. From the co-hosting standpoint, it's really focused on a couple things. Agents, right? We work with agents, and we help provide a market analysis and underwrite for them in exchange. Like when they sell a house, recommend, we have a co-host service that can take care of everything for you on the short-term rental, really allow you. So we've gotten a few deals like that and have built really great relationships with agents that way. And then the other aspect is more, we have the inbound, like we have our Google SEO, like Google and our website, like we get some leads from that. We've gotten one lead that we still have to this day, one of our best performing properties, from somebody found us on Google, right? So we're just making sure we
That's
stay on
awesome.
top of that. Yeah. And then outbound, it's like find out some of these bigger companies, which is like the low hanging, like Vacasa or Evolve.
Mm-hmm.
They're not great management companies, right? They're too big. So they don't have the attention to detail and that people want, that you went ideally signed up for. So that's where we come in, right? We have more of a boutique focus, and we've taken business from Vacasa and Evolve multiple times now. Like there's three of our listings that we've taken from there. That's another source, right? Just finding those properties and
Yeah.
kind of doing the same thing you would if you were to purchase it. Skip trace and find the owners, reach out to them, let them know
Gotcha.
we're out here, right? Like we have a service for you. And so we do it. That's for co-hosting. And then the acquisition side of it, where we're trying to invest on our own, it's the same concept, prop stream, or just finding lists of deals that fit certain criteria, and then try and pitch creative financing, whether it's subject to or seller financing, where it seems fit. So we've been doing that. That has just now started to come over the last couple months, of
Okay.
really starting to ramp that up. And then we still have the prospecting for our co-host services.
Right. So you've been obviously focused on co-host for a while now, but now you're looking at how do we actually acquire these properties for ourselves, so that you can essentially double down, like you're making all the profit instead of half the profit or whatever that split is.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Great.
I mean, that's why we got into this. It's just so funny. In 2022, we gosh, it's crazy how fast time goes. It's
Right.
we did a refinance of our place to take that money and put it in somewhere. And
Hmm.
again, this is before I knew about creative financing. So everything I would underwrite, it's like nothing was working. And Florida has been rough because insurance has gone up like crazy right
Yeah.
now. They just introduced like 6 new insurance like companies into Florida, which
Oh,
should make it,
that's good.
which should be better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. We'll see how that goes. But property tax is the other thing. It's been insane, like
Mm.
absolutely crazy, to where the
Those two
point it's
things will
like,
kill a deal
oh my
real
gosh,
quick.
every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I found so many amazing like opportunities, like agent outreach, like there's deals there and it's like, oh yeah, we're interested. And that's sometimes the hardest part, right? Is like getting them to understand that you can do a subject to, and once you get past that barrier, and then it's like you underwrite the deal and it's like, cool. Well, uh yes, the principal and interest is great because you have a low interest rate from whenever you bought, but um, the insurance and property tax in whether it's Osceola County or Polk County, which is like the Disney area, which
Sure.
has gone up like crazy, or Broward County, or Palm Beach County down here in South Florida, it kills the deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been
Totally.
rough, and so we had to pivot. I bring that so um, we also what we recommend in certain cases is like don't depending on where you're at as an investor, right? If you're an investor and you're trying to go hands off, just realize, right, like paying for a co-host services is not 10%. Like a long term management is simple, very easy, right?
Sure.
Short term is, you're dealing with a ton of turnover. Um, you're dealing with key management, and you're dealing with a ton more of volume, right? And from a standpoint, it's hospitality, right? It's not just long term, like every now and then you'll have to send someone
Yeah.
out there. So you're going to pay
Yeah.
for that. But if that's going to kill the deal, the other thing that we've started to offer is like, hey, uh, we can provide a service where we get you onboarded, we get you right, because that's the most stressful part, right? Like those first
Yeah.
4 to 5 weeks of onboarding a property. And once you get there, we'll be there for you for the first 3 guests, three reservations, and then we'll
Sure.
depart. Now you can run it yourself. You can save your 20 to 25% additional that would have went to a co-host company to now yourself, right? And then that's a
Yeah.
service that we're providing now, and we're being honest with that because we don't want to kill a deal, and just ultimately it's difficult to do it like like 2021,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. That's a great option, I think. Good for you guys putting that together because, just realizing the fact that not everybody can do this long term, but if they just need to get kickstarted. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what does that look like? Do you help with furnishing? Like, what's the A to Z on, or the high level A to Z on getting that set up for somebody?
Yeah, so we do. So it'll start from in the onboarding process, right? Like first and foremost, it's the two things that might take the longest are getting the applications and the all your tax, like the administrative stuff that's not fun, but as part of the county, as part of the state, and as part of the city, even like what do you need for ordinances to be in
Mm,
compliance, and that can sometimes take a long time because you might need someone to come out and inspect the property. You might need it's all different. Like Osceola County, different than Polk County, they're all so different. It's wild, and it's because it's still so new.
sure.
So that we do, it's like we help with that right out of the gate. Like, what do you need
That's a huge
to,
value.
yeah, in itself, right? And every time we do it, it's so, uh, it is not fun to do, but we set that up, and then the other thing is the furnishing, right? Because it might take a long time to order. So we have a designer that is a service too, and basically they will help you from A to Z depending on the market, right? Like Kissimmee, Davenport, you have to be so themed out, like Disney, like
Yeah.
Toy Story room and Moana and Cars and Monsters Inc., all that stuff. You have to be so themed out, and or else you're not going to stand out because there's over like 30,000 rentals in Kissimmee.
Right.
So you have to
Yeah.
be 32,000 active rentals. So you have to stand out. Great market though, because you'll never die. Like people are always going to go to Disney. Like it's just, and they're
Totally.
going to build a Super Mario world there. Like great market, it's just margins are smaller because there's so much volume. But then basically the design, get that ordered, get whatever it needs, the inventory huge. Like, do you make sure you have the right inventory for the less headaches? The more you are prepared up front, the less headaches, because you will encounter some issues, and the ability to do that, have enough inventory on, and then getting the right cleaners. Will help train the cleaner, like we'll help get them ready to go. Basically at the end of it, even for your first 3 reservations, so you get the idea, we help set up the PMS system, right? Like property management system. And that sends automated messages, like all that stuff we help set up basically from A to Z. Because then the only thing you have to deal with is the monthly, like doing the taxes. If Airbnb or whatever platform you're renting it on doesn't remit taxes for you, you have to do that. And then you have to deal with craziness that you get sometimes with guests, with hospitality space. You get some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. I like that. I like that not only because it gives a person or an investor some opportunity to take that on themselves. If they maybe need a little bit of help at the front, but they really want to take it on. But it helps them in that regard. But it also, I don't know if you've had this happen, but do people realize after that they take it over that that's not for them, and then they come back to you because they saw how well you handled it?
Yep. Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's and that happens a lot. Like so it's cool being in this industry, and it's still new. Like there's a conference that goes on every year, and I'm gonna miss this one, which I'm bummed about. And what's funny is like Pace Morby's gonna be at this STR Wealth Conference in Nashville. So I've been the last since when they started those, and I'm not going this year, but
why aren't you going this year?
Because we just had a baby, and I'm basically we're not going. Yeah, and it's right in February. Like if it was in March, I would maybe. But yeah, but it's such a great
I just
time.
had to pull that out, dude. Congratulations on the newborn. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely thrown it's just a new thing to account for in the day to day.
Totally.
Pretty big. But it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm enjoying it, and it's nice to I have my W-2. And what's funny is they just implemented they went from 4 weeks paternity to 8 weeks, like starting December 1st.
That's
so
awesome.
I got super lucky with that. So now I'm out until in the end of February, which is nice. So trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I was just gonna kind of wrap up when you asked that question. It happens a lot. It even happens the other side where you manage. Then they're like, "This is easy," it's because they're sitting, because the owners. I get it, because we make it look easy, because we hide a lot. We don't bring a lot to that. You don't have to deal with that.
Right.
But everything, like we have such high ratings because everything we act with 24/7. We act right away. We send out whoever we need to send out. Like we do things the right way, and we make sure we do right by the guests. And that takes a lot of giving a crap, right? Like, so if you care, but that can add a lot of stress. So sometimes the owners, and that's what I was saying. I went to the conference. It's such a small circle, so we're around a lot of these big players. Some of them own boutique hotels. Some of them have like 30, 40, 50 properties in different parts, and it's all like the same. Like there's different problems like that. The owner will be like, "Oh, I'll run it myself." They run it, and then they come back. They're like, "No, I'm giving it back to you." So it'll, either way, it's good though. It's been a fun experience the last year and a half building it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you said earlier, the fact that you have a process driven mind, it sounds like, so that aligns perfectly with this, because I can imagine that there's a lot of people helping third party, like people coming in, like the cleaners and maintenance and things like that. So you probably have these processes built out for them, or SOPs and things like that. I'm sure it's just helping you be as successful as you are.
Yeah. Yeah. The main thing there, I just wanted to call out was like that is such a big factor, especially if you're managing from a distance,
Yeah,
and
that's
is
what I was going
getting
to get
that
into
team.
actually.
Yeah, getting that team like around you. Having
Yeah,
the cleaners are by far the most important. It's like your
yeah,
point guard. It's like the person that's gonna be is like your eyes and ears, and they like we have some rock star cleaners, and it doesn't always start out like that. Like we've gone through a couple cleaners before. We found a team, people that feel like they're also growing with you and part of a team, and
sure.
that's been fun to do, but it's hard to find. And across everything, to your point, like right now I'm dealing with the toilets broken in one of the places. Like we gotta set that up, make sure the guest is good with them entering, like all the little things.
Yeah,
We gotta find somebody for that, and that's more challenging. But so long as you got your cleaners, like you're 80% there. Like
nice.
that's money. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was actually going to lean into and ask if how does it work setting up a out of market short term rental for somebody? Do you have the you said you have the ability to do it, but what does that look like? Building those teams, like say you're in Florida and somebody comes to you from Phoenix and they say, "Hey, I want you to help co-host this." How do you get there?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a process, like we have SOPs. We have a it's all the same concepts, right? Like you're building a business, you're building a team. It's the same thing that no matter where you go. So we take those principles and we apply them to wherever we go. So even if it's out of state, out of city, out of county. So for example, we just went into
Hmm.
St. Petersburg, and we don't have cleaners out there. We don't have a handyman. We don't have anything out there. Um, but we know how to put that together. We know how to put it together relatively quick. We don't let it slow us down, just like anything else, right? Like, it's not going to stop us from, we know exactly how to do it. Like, we'll go up there, we'll visit it. So whether it's out of state and stuff like that, we're going to go there and visit it, get a feel for the property. But then ultimately we start the interview process. We get people in there and working. And if they don't, we have certain things, like if they're not taking pictures of everything that they're doing, if they're not keeping us in the loop, if they're not punctual, like, we got to find an A team. And so we go through that process just like would anywhere else. And we've done it quite a few times now uh, in different locations where we're starting out new. So we just rinse and repeat that process. And we have all those things built out from our experience, and we get them plugged into our property management system, and it's been good so far. And so ultimately, that's what I would say. We just rinse and repeat and go through our process no matter where.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes back to what you were saying about having SOPs. So now you have all that built out. It took you time to put that together. I'm sure at the beginning it was, you're learning as you go, you make updates, and then now you're to a point, like you said, where you just rinse and repeat. You go into a new market, you have the documents, you interview people, I'm sure, and then give them an opportunity with the documents and track how that goes. And then you find, like you said, you find some people that work, but it's going to take some time.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so long
Trial
as
and
we don't
error.
let it impact. Yeah, exactly. And what's cool is, um, so long as ultimately the most important things in this business is the guest experience, and just making
Yeah.
sure that you don't fall flat on your face in the beginning, and getting those 5-star ratings, to be very like objective about it. Like getting 5 stars is, things screw up all the time. We have things happen all the time, but it's actually like how we respond to it, how quickly we
Sure.
respond to it, and like so we've turned so many situations, like me and Philip, my business partner, and just like look at each other and we're like, oh yeah, we're getting 4 stars, but we're gonna do everything we can for this to get
Yeah.
and we end up getting 5 stars. And it's they people understand that things can happen. That's what you're staying at someone's home.
Yeah.
So long as you are attentive to it and very sympathetic, empathetic to it, then you'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I mean, and that kind of goes with everything in life. I think like it's how you react to things, not what happened, because shit's going to happen.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
yeah, yeah. So you just carry that on into your business, which is great. And I would agree, like from a guest perspective myself, I haven't done any hosting, but I would I would definitely agree that, from my perspective as a guest, it doesn't matter if I come in and like, something wasn't clean, right, or whatever, or like it wasn't prepped the right way, as much as it does like, how are you going to handle it? Are you quick? Are you attentive to what I'm asking for? And do you take care of it in a timely manner? All those things kind of add up to it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I wanted to go back. You were talking about how you really focus on luxury. And and actually, you said a couple things that kind of caught my interest. You're focused on luxury, and obviously the market's different now. So I'm curious, like, what's your take on it? Like, how do you feel so bullish on luxury when the market is kind of like short term? There's a lot of heat on it right now. There's a lot of new ordinances and city laws and things like that, where it's keeping people from being hosts or restricting the way you can host. So I'm just really curious of that dynamic of like, okay, the market is saying, we don't want you to do this pretty much. And you're like, no, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it as luxury.
Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, there's a lot of research out there too that supports this, right? So AirDNA, right, which is a big company that a lot of people that are investors or um, definitely in the short term rental space know, and they pull Airbnb data as well as VRBO data, and they're kind of like the OG, one of the OGs in pulling all this data together and aggregate, and they have data since pre-pandemic and all the way to today, right? And you can see basically what has been happening, where people are saying the sky's falling on Airbnb and it's a bust, and all that is really, it's just normalizing. It's coming back down to pre-pandemic levels, and it's still growing, but the inventory shot up so high, right? In in South Florida, in like Fort Lauderdale area, you'll see growth. It's grown like nearly the other 8%, right, year over year. It's grown 8%, and you can see it just steadily growing every single quarter, every year, and now they have a ton of volume, and so that obviously will impact occupancy, and that
Sure.
impact to occupancy, on top of the idea that now that we're coming out of the pandemic, right, there's going to be more international travel, and we've already seen it with how the economy is now. It's just changing the travel behavior, and we're seeing that coupled with volume. So yes, it looks like it's very hard to find deals, and it's very hard if you are not a good operator to basically optimize and have your listings um, making money, like making what you expect. Now, everybody should have a tempered expectation, but ultimately, what it's done is it's separated the very very good operators and everybody who used during the pandemic just threw up an Airbnb listing and set it and forget it, and they'll be fine no matter what because they're going to make a ton on it. It is really now focused on, are people really dialed in to their pricing, to their occupancy, to forecasting out and seeing like where's the trends going? Like what do I need to price optimize my pricing so that I can make the most I can, but also get it filled. How are you doing with your upsell? Are you selling additional experiences and things to guests and making sure that they also provide references to other guests? Like, are you really in the hospitality business, or were
Sure.
you just throwing this up there and hoping for the best? That's the difference of like the services we provide. We are always on top of the latest and greatest in all the technology and the trends of what we need to focus on to get it optimized, but it's still down. So back like to your point of luxury space, luxury space actually has not taken as big of a hit as the rest of the vacation rental market. Luxury, AirDNA put out an article too, but luxury is actually still seeing a growth. And it's, the folks that are staying in luxury. And again, you want luxury, you want homes with, depending on the market, 4, 5 plus bedrooms, like in South Florida. You want 8, 9, 10 plus bedrooms in Disney, but all these families come together and they want to stay there, and it's better than staying at a hotel. So you just have to know your clientele. You have to know where you're at, and you have to look at those trends, and you can actually see the differences in luxury listings versus the rest. And so to us, also, the other big decision for us to go into that space was, no matter what, it takes the same, maybe not onboarding and setting up a property because it's different setting it up, but it takes the same amount of time for us to run a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment than it does to run a 5-bedroom luxury home on the intercoastal. There's not a difference, really. It's the same thing. You're dealing with guests. It's the same exact thing. The cleaners have a difference, and we pay the cleaners obviously more but it's not any different. So we want to get the most, the way that we can provide our services and feel very confident in being able to really give it our all in our boutique operation is go to the luxury, hit home runs in that space, and it'll benefit us, especially with a smaller team. But then also benefit the owners, right? Because we're focused on there. We know the luxury space, and we give a crap. So it's like that. It's just a recipe for us to be able to be good in that space. Over a long period of time.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Where it is really, it's market driven. Like you said, being by Disney, you're going to want as many bedrooms as you can because you have so many multifamilies coming and traveling together. And if you go and rent a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, like you said, and maybe it's not themed out, like, how do you succeed in that when you have so much around you? The inventory is so high. So from that, I kind of took away, know your market, use the data that you have available. So like AirDNA, and make sure that you're following the patterns of successful operations already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Use that enemy method, right? Like look at your competition and really analyze them, and you can see the ones that are succeeding. You can tell a difference with design and everything, and that's just the marketing, right? That's how you get eyes on it, and then you get bookings through through your copy, through your rating, your reviews from other guests. So then it's really about the operations. How dialed in are you into a point where your other guests have stayed there and they love it, and now you're popping up at the top of the page. But to your point, what we're seeing a lot of is people are selling like crazy right now because they bought in during the pandemic, and maybe their rates are high, but they are struggling. They're struggling because they're seeing occupancy go down, and they think it's really just correcting itself. But people are struggling because their debt service is high, and property taxes is increasing, and things like that. So you're going to see volume start to decrease as well. But it's just interesting the most important thing when we're underwriting is be conservative, write your numbers, and have that understanding that here's my floor, but here's my upside. And everything that we underwrite, it stinks. We tell realtors all the time, like when we're working with realtors or we're working with investors, it's like, nope, that's not a deal. That's not a deal. That's not. I say so many times, and it stinks. It's just like, it feels like, I'm just negative, but it's just true. It's just not a good deal for short-term rentals, given all the expenses you have on the STR side.
Right. Yeah. So I was just thinking about this, and I'm sure you follow Row Built on, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but on Instagram.
Robasolo.
Robasolo. Yeah. And just going back to the luxury thing, like you need to know what you're doing, right? Like he had I remember he posted about this where he had a property that wasn't performing well. It started dipping, and he could have sold it off, and he went the other way. He actually leaned in, and he invested a lot of money into, I I think it was like a basketball court or sport court, something, and
Mm-hmm.
like added more amenities to bring that experience up. And he ended up making it one of his best performing assets. So it's just really like,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that as we were talking and wanted to call that out. Like, you really probably are getting a better bang for your buck when you go into that luxury or add experience. It doesn't even need to be a luxury house necessarily, but if you have other things that you can provide, that's going to separate.
Yes. Yeah. I know what you're referring to too. I think it's the one that he has with David Green in like Arizona. It's like a massive luxury home, and he showed the numbers on it too. And no, it is incredible. And that's what we try and work when we're working with investors or owners. We're trying to get them to realize that, because the more you spend in that, it's only going to benefit you. It stinks
Sure.
because you don't really, it's different than long term, where it's just like do whatever you can minimum to save. Yes, you're kind of doing that in certain aspects of design, but also just know, like, experiences. There's one Airbnb that crushes. Somebody else had a post on this. I don't know where it is, in like Tennessee or
Mm,
Georgia or Carolinas or something. Like, but you see all these properties are like mediocre, and then this one is like stands out. It's like, oh my God, it's making so much more revenue than everybody else. And you look,
yeah.
and they have like a wall of like water guns. Like they have like it's literally, they're just all hanging on the wall. And so like they are
That's
like
awesome.
gone after. Yeah, exactly. So it's like parents will see that, or whether you're like a bachelor party or something, like you see that and you're like, oh my God, that's freaking cool. Like we got
Yeah.
to stay there. And so now, like, you're creating that experience, to your point, and that doesn't cost a lot. So how creative can you get? And
Right.
then depending on where you're at, like, that's the most important part. Can you stand out? And then, like, what's that experience you're going to bring that people aren't going to get in a hotel, or people aren't going to get in any other listing, because people aren't spending money to do that. They're not focused on experience and hospitality. They're focused on um, revenue for
Right.
their Airbnb.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a trap a lot of either people or companies get into is, you're so focused on the bottom line that you miss these opportunities to see the possibility of what you could do. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh man, that's great info about STRs.
yeah, yeah. It's
Got a
good. It's fun
little
stuff.
master class on it.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much to it, but it's still an area that I'm very much like. Uh, I think it's going to continue to be strong. It continues to grow. Airbnb, and a company in itself, is crushing. It's just separating the really unique experience places and the top operators from those that are
Yeah.
just average. And so it's good though.
Yeah.
I'm bullish on it. I also like the boutique hotels, and those things are still short term stays, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of opportunity still.
Yeah. Awesome. So what's next for you? Like, what do you see for the next, 3 to 5 years? What are your goals that you're aiming for?
Yep. So for us, like um, we want to get Relaxed Stays, our co-hosting company. We want to get it to, at the end of this year, like we want to get to a point where we're making over like 50K a month in gross revenue, right? And we want to have an experience for guests that, like, we want to have like a travel blog. Like we want to have like these curated experiences for guests. Like we want to create
Mm,
something that really helps us stand out, because we're actually invested in the hospitality side of it. And so we're focused on building that out, and really hammering on the properties that we do have there, again, because we want to be in the luxury space. It doesn't
yeah.
take as many to get there, but when you hit that, it's not just throwing it on Airbnb. It's how do you market it? Like, how can you do wedding events? How can you do so? Like, we really are dialed in on building our team and getting more properties, co-hosting, but ultimately too, in that 5 years, like, we want to invest in our own and run it through that company. And so, in I would say at the end of this year, goal is to have four acquired properties acquired, and probably using, definitely using creative financing. That's the only way it's going to work. But getting that into our portfolio by the end of the year, and then we want to get to 50K a month in gross a year. So like last year we did 300,000 across the whole year, but we want to do 50K a month by the end of this year, and then 3 to 5 years. I mean, we're gonna be in the 500,000 a month range is where we want to get to. So
Hell yeah.
as well as acquiring our own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the goal. And we want to, the other thing too is because that experience, I love the idea of, and this is a passion too, but I want to get land and build like from the ground up and create an experience for
That'd be
guests
awesome.
that way too. That's so awesome. And I'll get there. It'll definitely happen. It's just finding the right spot and the location, going through that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a couple questions from that. One is, I'm sure you've thought about it and you probably think about it often, is how do you get from 50K a month to 500K a month and still maintain the small company, the boutique, and the, like not become the Evolve, we talked about it a lot. Like that's what kind of sets you apart. You're more, specialized with people, and you're hands-on with them, with this process. So how do you scale that with maintaining that same vision and principle?
Yeah, it's so good. That's an excellent question. I think the main thing too is what's funny with the like Vacasa or Evolve. So like Evolve, they'll do their marketing, but they don't have really boots on the ground. Like you have to pretty much manage everything. You manage the cleaners and everything. Like Evolve doesn't manage full service. Vacasa, they full service, but they actually outsource to local like property managers within the area.
Gotcha.
And they're not. It's so crazy when we talk with these property managers and different like most of them, if they even answer the phone, they take forever to respond. It's like it doesn't take, if you care, and we're setting principles in the foundation for our company now. It's funny is like Philip and I, who's Philip, my business partner, and we worked at the company that I'm prior to, like the company that I'm at today for my W-2. But before that, they're the best company culture I've ever seen. It was number one Forbes, and wow. It was in the top 10 for a little bit. It was definitely in the top 100, and it got all the way to number one because they focused on culture and they focused on like that people first mentality.
Yep.
And truly, I've taken that along a way with me, and so has Philip. But I think as we're building our company, it's really focused on taking care of our team, taking care of our people within our team, and helping then take care of our guests, right? And taking care of our clients, taking care of your people first, and then our clients and everything, and then whatever comes after that. But ultimately, if we can take care of our cleaners, making sure that they feel like they're part of the team, and we build out those things, we'll be good. Like we're going to continue to maintain that. That's what makes it different than a Vacasa or Evolve, is because Vacasa is in a numbers game, right? There's just volume. And we're in the experience game. So our metrics of what success looks like is different than Vacasa. We're not about volume. We're more about how do you leverage the properties that you do have, continue to have high ratings so that you can continue to be at the top of your game and leverage other sources of revenue too within the guest, promoting that guest experience. And we want to be a brand that people when they see, like, and they know that they want to stay at one of our places because they know they're going to get the best experience. And we want our team to help take us there. So that's the only way that you don't become one of those. It's such a great question. And I think one of the things that right now we just brought on someone new to the team, and so that's been great, kind of onboarding them, and we just got to continue to build and scale from there. And when I get to there, like I'm excited to kind of see that the culture and everything that we built from here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that answer. Really resonates with me too. in a I've only actually worked at a few companies in my career, but I'm in retail, so like I work at a regional grocery chain, and
Mm-hmm.
in my first job as a in retail and like grocery, it was just kind of run of the mill. It was like it sold some natural products and kind of tried to differentiate itself there. It wasn't really like separating itself from the others. And then I jumped over to where I'm at now, New Seasons Market, and it's all built around the principle of people first. And I really, you can see it. When I started, it was just insane, like more people in the store, so you have better service. They're not worried about the job of throwing freight, but they're worried about how do you can interact and connect with people in the store. And the wage is higher than minimum wage, you have better benefits, all these things add up. And I think you're right on the right track. Like, I don't know that you could have answered that any better.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's unless you work for it, unless so you're experiencing it, and I again, that's why it's funny to see the journey going up to here, and it's like I like the W-2. It's still teaching me how to be um what's right and what's wrong about certain company cultures and corporate structure, and when you do build and not trying to become robotic, but at a sense you kind of do have to come build in processes and things like that
Sure.
to keep on the same page, but it doesn't mean you have to lose your that culture and making sure that everybody is there for each other and it's more family oriented.
Yeah.
Um, and you're experiencing it to actually see that and be part of a company and actually see, the CEO just kept it super simple, very simple, and every time he had the same delivery and same like speech pretty much every single time that we saw him present. So consistent, but he kept it simple. He's like, make the product better, make the service better, and just keep the main thing, and focus there. And I don't know, it was just that company prior to the merger was there's going to be nothing else ever like it in terms of, especially about built in South Florida. It's pretty exciting, and I'm glad I was able to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And now we see different experiences or different like a culture shift, but it's just interesting to see that and be part of that. So now I learn and
Yeah.
kind of understand why those things change.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great point. Dude, cool. That was, yeah. I really am passionate about that part of it, like making sure that you have good processes, but the people in your own team are going to help drive the change in your company and drive the growth. And so take care of them, make sure that you're really doing right by them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, I had another question that I wanted to ask you, and I like got so involved in that I forgot it. But um, I'm so we're pretty much coming up on time here, but I did want to ask, um, with the newborn, I think you said you had another child as well. You've got your W-2, you're doing all this. What what does your schedule look like? Like how did you come to the determination that you're going to put all this extra time into this business, and how do you keep it structured for yourself right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been good. I mean, it's taking a lot of like dropping certain things. And it's been good though. Like I've always had like the entrepreneurial bug. And this is not the first. I started like an analytics consulting company, and then I did try and build out something for fantasy football, and like I've always had that bug, and I work hard. Like I'm a hard worker. I like to work. Like I like to put in the time on things that I'm passionate about. Like I like to work, and so I when building out even before our baby girl that we just had in the beginning of January, we still had 3 year old, and uh, balancing that was by far the most important thing, was in that certain times in the morning, and then after daycare, like in the afternoon or in the evening, giving my attention to that. So that's like a non-negotiable. And then it's at night after we put like my son down. That's when I can work. So from like 8 to midnight, 8 to 1, 8 to like I actually took it off because I had like a irritation or whatever on my arm, but I wear it all the time. The Whoop Band. Have you heard of it?
Oh no, what's that?
It's awesome. It's like one of the best. It tracks data. Like it's one of the best wearable tracking devices in ever. Like it's just one of the best. It's like a lot of great technology. There's some athletes. Patrick Mahomes wears it. Like there's some. It has so much data. It tracks your sleep. It tracks your when you rest. Like it tracks your strain. So like, how are you straining?
Oh, wow.
Are you straining enough? Are you sleeping enough? Are you restoring like the body? And it shows your heart rate. Like it was able to actually also track when people early indicators when you had COVID because it knows, your like respiratory rate. Yeah. All these things. So when you look at it in my sleep, it's so funny. Cause I'm in a group too with some other guys that are in this industry and it's funny to see how little sleep you get, but and I'm not just saying that that's like necessary. I think it is to a point when you have so many things that you're juggling,
Sure.
because only so much to give, right? Like a W-2, that's the thing you got to do right now. And there might be during lunch. How can you shift your focus and be like, okay, I got to knock out this amount of time. And my wife's taught me a lot about that too, because she sacrifices a lot as well. Like she's picking up my son and spending a lot of time with him in the afternoon. And so she also has a job. So she fits in even more time, like more things in a very short amount of time, but she's hyper focused. As soon as you kind of turn that timer on, it's like, I need to get this much done. And because you set that timer, you get it done. So when you're very focused and structured there, that's how I've been able to get up to this point where it's like very, very like I'm very focused on what I need to get done in a period of time, but being also the non-negotiables of like, I'm giving this time to family and doing those things and trying to balance to the best of my ability. But there's never a pure balance. Something's got to give. Honestly, like whether it's your physical health or like family time or whatever, like there's got to be a balance there for a period of time until you can build it up enough to where you can delegate. And that's kind of where we're at now. We're finally at the thing where we've built out a lot of systems and everything. We're really focused on trying to build a team that we can delegate out to and give us some more time so that we can be more strategic on where we're building instead of in the day to day.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And automate.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. The other thing, automations, right? Like if automate whatever you can, build processes, whatever you like, whenever you can. And it takes you a long way, but you have to have that. Like me and my business partner, like he'll run a lot of the day-to-day operations. I'll focus more on the marketing and sales, but I also will focus on trying to build out processes and where can we automate here and there. And it's like, if you can tweak it just a little bit every single day, just be consistent. But if you can do it every single day, before you know it, you've built a company where you're like, oh my God, like just, last year it's like we had 1 and then now we have 8. And so like, and by the end of this year, we're going to have, close to 20. Like that's our goal. So, it's just little by little every day, kind of tweaking it and figuring out what works and doesn't work.
Totally. Yeah, that's huge. Just going from 1 unit to 8 within a year is awesome. And, like you said earlier, like, your trajectory, where you're going, and you clearly have the processes and systems and the mindset to get you to those next steps and the milestones. So I'm looking forward to following along with you. I'm glad that we got to connect like this and meet, and just again looking forward to following along with what you're doing too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on and talking through this stuff. I love talking this stuff. It's good.
Yeah. I do have I do a random question at the end.
Okay.
I just want to ask you really quick. So for you, since you're a sports guy, what if you were only allowed to watch one sport for the rest of your life, which sport would it be?
I guess I'd say football, American
Okay.
football.
Yeah.
And just because, you know, there's a ton when I was going through like I was saying, I was trying to build out we were evaluating quarterbacks and like using data and using film, watching film. And when I was watching film and I was talking with, a couple of buddies that actually are like coaches and actually really understand the X's and O's, and got me, I truly appreciated even more on what it takes to be a very successful team and be a successful quarterback and just the intricacies of it. Um, that is, I would say that sport. And um, yeah, because I used to play, I grew up playing baseball. My dad wouldn't like really let me play football because obviously injuries and all that. So I played baseball, but it wasn't really my passion. Um, so I'd say football. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Just a side note, as you're saying, your dad wouldn't let you play football. Have you seen the movie Happy Gilmore?
Yes.
Yeah, when he's like, Chubbs has got the wooden hand, and he's like, oh, he wouldn't let me play. It's too dangerous. And it's like,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that worked
Yes.
out well.
Yeah. How'd that work out? Yeah. That's great. Yeah. No, true. True. It's funny too, because I rode like dirt bikes and everything growing up too with my dad. But we did trail riding, right? So I wanted to do
Oh,
motocross. Like I
cool.
liked
Yeah.
racing. I liked competing. But again, it's like you can get jacked up there.
Yeah.
And so but I'm grateful for it. It's not like it's, it didn't change. It basically just made me, focus on, okay, where can I really dial in and focus in on. And I played sports, so that was playing sports in school and playing multiple sports is always helpful, right? From a leadership standpoint, from a team camaraderie standpoint, but also just staying active in there. But I didn't, I'm grateful that I didn't get seriously injured or put in a position where I was. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. How do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach you?
So YouTube is at its Bobby Souza, and then on Instagram it's at Bobby Souza, but also our short-term rental companies at Your Relaxed Stay, RELAXEDSTAY. Yeah, that's the best way to reach us. Yeah,
Awesome.
but feel free to DM me, or I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the things. I'm on all of them. Not TikTok, but I'm on everything else.
Great. Yeah, I'll put all that stuff into the description for everybody. So
Awesome.
easy to follow links. Thanks again for
Cool.
jumping on here, man.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
Yeah. It was great getting to connect with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for setting this all up.
Yeah, totally. And for everybody else listening, we'll catch you on the next episode.